Welcome to Actual Scale Modelling. This is part 6 of Airfix's Hadley Page Vector K2 SR2. Scale is 1/72. In this part I'm going to be concentrating on the painting on the underside of the aircraft. So let's jump into this and see how well I get on. To begin with, there's one or two little small parts to be added onto the fuselage. The things like the aerofoils and little bits and pieces like that. What their actual names are, I'm never too sure. The locations here are all the pre-drilled holes that I did in the earlier part when I was prepping the fuselage. So this is where you'll find out if you made your hole big enough. If you haven't made your hole big enough, all you really have to do is get your hobby knife and place the blade in and gently twist it around until the opening's big enough to receive the part. It's unusual that you have to do it for something these parts that are so small, but it depends how big a drill bit you use them. I always err on the small side just in case, because you can open it up, but it's difficult to close it up. You would need filler. So it's better just to put a little bit side of caution on it. These units that I'm putting in now, interestingly, the instructions say put this on just after you put the wings on. But I wanted to get everything on first of all before doing that. It made no difference to the build. It was just a personal preference. The part I'm making up here is for the edge of the rear wing that makes the tail. You can see it there. The two halves put together and just push it on. It's quite a big, thick, bulbous bit to place on. Next, this is where I cut off the little bit that I should have cut off. So that's going to have to be dealt with. And all it is a raised area that comes down to a point. So how I decided to deal with this is I've taken a bit of sprue, measured off the length that I want. I then took a pencil sharpener of all things and just took it the tip down to a fine point. I thought it was a perfect little tool just to get the desired point. The other way, of course, is using your hobby knife and shaving it down. But the pencil sharpener is ideal for that sort of thing. And once I've done that, it's just a simple case of fitting the modified part. Now, the reason why I use a bit of sprue is because it's a curved part at the top. So the curve is already there. I didn't have to try and shape it anyway. I just have to flatten the bottom a little bit, then marry it up. Now, there is going to be a little bit of gap between the actual form part and the modified part. And after a little bit of filing and sanding, I'm just going to use a little bit of filler just to fill in any gaps. But once that's done, then it's back to adding all the little bits and pieces to the fuselage. At the wingtip, the sensors are going. Now, I should have actually put these on last. I keep on doing this. I always jump ahead. Now, I ended up snapping one of these off, hence why I should have put it on last. But nevertheless, it's gone in now. So onto the painting stage, and first of all, I'm laying down the masking tape for the white border line. The line is quite easy to follow on this model. It's fairly straightforward. It's just a matter of getting the tape in the correct position. And once that's done, I've decided to put in the landing gear now before I start painting. So I'm just putting in the landing gear. The anchor points of this is fairly straightforward. They just click into place. This is where you make sure everything is solid, because there is a lot of weight involved in this model. So you want to make sure everything is properly bonded before you flip this over and let it stand on its wheels. And then once all three wheels are in, I can then put on the covers. Now, there's good location points for these, and I like these covers because the connecting point runs right down into the wing and gives you something to grip onto. Quite often, these covers are just cemented onto the rim of the bay, which doesn't help when you're handling it, because sometimes they'll pop off depending on how good they are secure. But this one, because they have two little struts running right down into the base, they're a lot easier to fit. Now onto the painting, and I'm using Umbro 130 white satin for the entire underside of the model. As you can see, I'm using a flat brush for this, quite a large one. Now this is going to take 2, possibly 3 coats until I'm happy with the coverage. It's onto the canopy now, and I'm using Umbro 163 dark green for the colour. Now, as you can see there, I'm not masked this off, I'm just doing it by hand, by eye as well, obviously. And I've said this many times, it depends on the canopy whether I do this or not, but I do prefer not to use the masking tape. It's just a time issue with me, and all the fluffing around. I'm perfectly capable of painting freehand like this. Some people aren't, and that's absolutely fine, but for me, it works this way. If I do make a mistake, I will just simply go over it with a cocktail stick and take away the excess paint. I use a fine brush for this, and I try and do as even as strokes as possible. The lines for this canopy are very nicely defined as well, so that also eliminates the need for masking tape. But if you prefer to use the masking tape or another masking agent, obviously do so. But it's worth a try doing it something like this, but do it on a practice piece. Don't do it on the actual model you're building, because you don't want to make too many mistakes. It does take a bit of time to do, but in my opinion, it's a lot quicker than masking it all off. But as I said, it all depends on how you want to approach this. Now it's back to the instrument panel, and I've used Umbro 85 Coal Black, and I painted the control sticks earlier on to give them some drying time. They're all needs a tiny little bit of cement to place these in, but be careful though, because the decal is on. I done that in the previous video, so you don't want to be messing up this decal, so be very careful with your cement on this. And once they're in place, the central column then can go in. It goes in a specific way. There is a nice location area for the control central control panel to go into. It comes down at an angle, but once you sit it inside its area, then you shouldn't have any problem with it. After leaving it to dry overnight, it's time to go back to the main build, and I'm going to be taking off the masking tape to start prepping for the actual main camouflage paint. Now this masking tape has been varnished over, and that's to stop any paint bleeds when I place on my next colour. Now when I varnish it over, obviously that sometimes affects the tape coming off. It may rip a little bit, but it shouldn't affect your paintwork. This is why I left it overnight to dry, because you want your paint to be 100% cured before you remove it. It's also a good idea to varnish before you move on to the next step. So I'm using the old Pledge Clear polish to varnish it. Now this stuff only takes about 20 minutes to touch dry, then you can start painting over it if you wish. Now the reason why I'm varnishing it now and not later is just to protect the paintwork, because there's still got a lot of handling involved, and I'll be pushing it around the bench, and there's a chance that you could damage your paintwork. So, and you don't want to do that at this stage. So the varnish just helps protect it all. I actually left the varnish drying a little bit longer than 20 minutes, maybe about an hour. This is because I was actually putting the masking tape on, as you can see there. Now I'm just following the white line that's already been painted in, so it's quite easy to lay down the masking tape at this stage. I will then, once the masking tape is down, I will then varnish over the masking tape once more. Again, this is to stop any paint bleed when I put the new colour on. And this is build end part 6, so if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds. If you subscribe to the channel, please do so. Hit the notification bell, that way you'll be kept up to date with this build and all my other builds as well. Hit the like button, don't be afraid to leave a comment, and of course you can share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.